feud between R&B legends Anita Baker and Babyface. Baker saying she's dropping Babyface as an opening act on her tour because of online threats from his fans.
What is going on with Anita Baker? At 66, the legendary singer has confirmed some terrible rumors. Fans have been wondering for a long time. Are the stories true? Could this really be happening to her now?
Come on, sing it with me, sweet.
Anita has been loved for her amazing voice and classic hits for decades. But what has led to this shocking news? Let's look into what's really happening with Anita Baker.
By the time I was like 12 years old, they would call me the little lady with the big voice.
Anita Denise Baker was born on January 26, 1958 in Toledo, Ohio, but she grew up in Detroit. Her childhood story is both heartwarming and surprising. For the first 12 years of her life, Anita was raised by a minister named Granville Lewis and his wife, Mary.
She is not a very religious woman in the sense of being a fanatic, but on Sunday, children go to church. And children do not sleep in church.
Anita always believed they were her grandparents. This thought shaped her early years and gave her a sense of love and family.
Even when I started to just know that this is what I wanted, I didn't tell people that because I grew up in a practical place.
In an interview, Anita shared how much closeness and warmth she felt growing up. She was so connected to the Lewis family's daughters that she thought of them as her own sisters. Her life with the Lewis family gave her strength and taught her about love. This foundation helped Anita later pour real emotions into her music, which touched millions of people. But Anita's life took a heartbreaking turn when Granville and Mary Lewis passed away. Losing them felt like losing her entire world. They had been her parents, her family, and her home. While grieving, Anita learned a shocking truth. The Lewises were not her grandparents. In fact, they were not related to her at all. Anita then found out that her biological mother was only 16 years old when she was born. Her father was not around to help. Because of this, her mother made the hard decision to leave baby Anita on the Lewis family's doorstep. She hoped they could give Anita the love and care she couldn't provide at such a young age. As a baby, her biological mother gave her up. At first, this left Anita heartbroken. She couldn't understand why her mother would make such a choice. But over time, Anita came to terms with it. In an interview with Essence magazine, Anita said her mother was just a child herself. She couldn't take care of a baby. It took Anita many years to find peace in her heart. The pain was real, but she eventually understood the difficult situation her mother was in. Her childhood was complicated. She told the Sun Sentinel that she grew up in a close group of family, friends, and relatives. This circle of caregivers loved her, but it was confusing. Anita admitted that she never really understood how everyone was connected. She said, "I still couldn't figure it all out. There are so many missing pieces to the puzzle." Back then, people didn't talk about these things, and no one asked questions. Anita's life took another surprising turn after the deaths of Granville and Mary Lewis, the couple she thought were her parents. According to I Love Old School Music, Anita later learned a big truth. The woman she believed was her older sister, Lois Landry, was actually her aunt. Lois and her husband adopted Anita and gave her a loving, stable home. They raised her as their own daughter, helping her start a new chapter in life.
I know what I can do and what I can't do. And there are a lot of things that I cannot do. People think that what they hear on record is something that just came right off the top of my head, very spontaneous. It's not true. It's a lot of hard work.
Anita Baker's life wasn't easy, but it was filled with love and lessons. Growing up, she found comfort and care in her adoptive parents, especially Lois, whom she lovingly called her Earth Mother. Lois gave her the stability she needed, despite the ups and downs of her early years. However, things changed when Anita's biological mother made an unexpected visit. That meeting shook Anita deeply. It brought up many emotions and left her with questions she couldn't answer. In an interview with Vibe magazine, Anita said, "Your beginnings are important. I do think meeting her like that was the reason I got into trouble later." Anita struggled with her feelings during her teenage years. She worked at Lois's beauty parlor and tried to do the right thing, but it wasn't easy. Anita often broke the rules and was expelled from several high schools. Her teenage years were tough, but she didn't let those challenges stop her. Anita's path to success was far from smooth. She loved music and worked hard to chase her dreams. She joined several bands, one of which was called Chapter 8. The group was very talented and even got a record deal. They toured across the U.S. and seemed ready for big things.
Met Anita in Detroit. Our group, Chapter 8, were performing at a club.
But just as success was in sight, their label merged into Arista Records, and Chapter 8 disbanded. This setback forced Anita to step away from music for a while. To survive, she worked regular jobs. She cooked, waited tables, and worked as a receptionist. Even during those hard times, Anita's love for music never faded. After facing many struggles in her early life, Anita decided to take a leap of faith. She packed up and moved to Los Angeles, hoping for a fresh start. She ended up living in an apartment, and by chance, her neighbors were a group of up-and-coming artists. These artists would later form the famous group New Edition, but at the time, Anita had no idea that they would play a part in her journey.
And we saw her with this other band singing background, so we approached her and said, "Hey, would you like to sing with us?" And she said, "Sure." You know, the next thing you know, she was with the band, and, you know, we did a lot of work with a lot of groups.
In 1983, Anita signed her first solo deal with Beverly Glenn Music. She released her debut album, The Songstress, marking the start of her solo career. But things didn't go as planned. She soon realized that her contract was not good, and she wasn't getting the respect she deserved. Anita wasn't afraid to stand up for herself, even though some people thought she was too tough. They called her difficult, but Anita knew what she wanted. She once said, "They call me a bio because I know what I want and I know how to ask for it." Her bold attitude paid off when she was let go from her first contract and signed with Elektra Records. This was the turning point in her career. In 1986, Anita released her second album, Rapture. This time, she took control of her music, working as the executive producer and helping to write many of the songs. Rapture was a huge success, especially thanks to the hit song Sweet Love. The album sold over 8 million copies worldwide, making Anita Baker a star.
We're allowed to record one project or one album for this company, after which they did not pick up our option to do a second album, and we wanted to know why. And they basically said that they didn't feel that we had what it took to make it in the music business. Again, I wouldn't have traded it for nothing.
Things were going well for Anita, and she was also going on tour with the famous Luther Vandross. But the tour didn't go as smoothly as she had hoped. Reports from the Baltimore Sun showed that Anita and Luther's relationship started to get rocky. Anita, known for her fiery personality, began taking out her frustrations on people around her. From her band members to the flight attendants and even the label executives, no one was safe from her outbursts. The tension between Anita and Luther got so bad that, at one point, the Boston Garden venue had to set up special curtains backstage to keep the two stars apart. Anita's management team explained that she had always been a bit intense, especially when it came to her personal space. She preferred to keep a small, trusted group of people around her backstage, and she didn't want anyone else around. In 2023, Anita Baker made headlines when she kicked Babyface off her concert in Newark, New Jersey. This situation sparked a lot of drama, and now people are remembering other times when she was accused of being difficult to work with.
That growing feud between R&B legends Anita Baker and Babyface. Baker saying she's dropping Babyface as an opening act on her tour because of online threats from his fans.
Fans were upset when Babyface, a well-known singer, announced on May 10th that he would not be performing with Baker at the Prudential Center. Babyface tweeted, saying he was asked not to perform so Baker could have more time for her show. He expressed his sadness, writing, "My band and I are extremely saddened we didn't get to perform for y'all tonight."
Unfortunately, this breaks my heart, y'all. Unfortunately, Babyface won't able.
After this tweet, many people online started criticizing Anita Baker. Some fans remembered times in the past when she was said to be rude or unprofessional during concerts. One fan tweeted, "I don't like Babyface being treated like this. Love her music. She's great in concert, but too many stories like this."
two icons in R&B music. Those of us who are a certain age, they soundtrack our lives. So the hope is that they will figure it out and get it together very soon.
This wasn't the first time Anita Baker had caused controversy. People online started to bring up other incidents where she was accused of being difficult. A tweet shared by singer Stephanie Mills added to the drama as she criticized the situation and said, "We have got to be better than this. I am saddened by the fact that you have to make this statement." Anita Baker responded to all the accusations in June 2023. She fired back on Twitter, denying that she was the reason Babyface didn't perform. Baker said that the blame should be placed on Live Nation, the company organizing the concert. She clarified that she had done her job by performing at the right time, without any special treatment or extra help. Baker also took the chance to defend herself against rumors of past feuds with other artists. She responded to a tweet that talked about her rumored issues with singer Maxwell. Baker said there was no contract for her to tour with him, and she called the rumors slander. She also talked about the long-standing rumors of a fight with the late Luther Vandross. While Baker admitted they had disagreements, she stressed that they worked well together and brought a lot of joy to their fans. Despite all the negative comments, Anita Baker made it clear that she wasn't letting anyone tarnish her reputation. She addressed the situation head-on, defending herself and making sure people knew she wasn't the problem. During one of her shows in 1986, something happened that changed her life forever. She met Walter Bridgeforth, a real estate developer who would later play a huge role in her life. Anita shared a funny story with Vibe magazine about their first meeting. Walter asked for a hug, saying, "I've got 6 sisters and I just bought each of them your album." Anita, always quick with a joke, responded, "For 6 albums, you can get a hug, brother." After their playful conversation, Walter gave her his phone number. It didn't take long before Anita called him every night. However, things weren't always easy for Anita during her relationship with Walter. She found herself in a tough situation. Walter was in a 5-year relationship with someone else, but Anita kept seeing him. As their relationship grew more serious, Anita had moments when she would call him, only to hear him say, "I got company." This meant he was with his other partner. Despite the heartache, Anita continued with the complicated relationship, even though it was painful. She had to face the reality of being the side woman, which brought a lot of emotional ups and downs. Anita had reached a breaking point. She couldn't keep living in uncertainty. She needed to know where she stood with Walter and what their future together would look like. In a brave move, Anita decided to make him choose. She bought him a card and wrote a heartfelt message inside. She told him, "I love you. I enjoy being with you. But if you need to do something else, I respect that. I won't bother you anymore." It was a hard decision for Anita, but she knew it was necessary for her emotional health and to get the closure she needed. In 1988, Anita felt like a huge weight had been lifted off her shoulders. She had been going through a lot of emotional struggles for a long time, but now everything finally felt clear. Walter, the man she loved, had committed to her, and she knew that she was no longer just a side piece. She was truly important to him. That was a moment of relief she had been waiting for.
It used to be that Anita Baker cranked out hot tunes. These days, she's more in tune with motherhood, birthing, bubbling, bouncing, baby Baker boys.
Unfortunately, she suffered a miscarriage, which added even more emotional weight to what she was already going through. In 1990, while Anita Baker was working on her music and getting ready to release a new album, she went through something very hard. She suffered a second miscarriage, which was a huge emotional blow for her. Despite the sadness, Anita had already promised to go on tour, so she decided to keep going with her work. But as the tour went on, things only got harder for her. Anita started to struggle emotionally. She asked her team to let her go home so she could rest, but instead, her schedule kept getting busier. More concerts were added, and she had no choice but to keep going. By January 1991, during a tour stop in Chicago, things reached a breaking point. Anita had a breakdown that left her feeling completely overwhelmed. In 1992, Anita found out she was pregnant for the 3rd time. Her doctor recommended a new surgical procedure to help her carry the baby to full term. Although the procedure was needed, it came with several rules that made it hard for Anita to focus on her music career. She couldn't create new songs the way she used to. But despite the challenges, the procedure worked, and Anita was able to carry her baby. In January 1993, she gave birth to her son, Walter Jr., which brought a lot of joy to her life. Just a few months later, in May 1994, Anita discovered she was pregnant again. This time, she gave birth to her second son, Edward, making her family even bigger.
Today, Anita's home audience has doubled because Walter, now 17 months old, has a new baby brother named Eddie.
But Anita faced even bigger challenges in her personal life. She opened up to Essence magazine about her Earth mother battling Alzheimer's disease, along with other family members struggling with health problems. These tough times made Anita decide to stay closer to home so she could support her family. She even set up a recording studio in her house. But during her music sessions, she'd often get calls from the hospital, interrupting everything. She describes her 10-year break as if she was pulled into another world. The music had to wait, life was calling, and she had no choice but to answer. During that time, Anita tried to write songs, but they wouldn't come. She tried to create an album, but it felt impossible. "I wanted to do everything," she says. "Be a singer, songwriter, producer, and also a mother, wife, and daughter. But music is not easy for me. It doesn't come when I'm stressed. Music waits for me to be ready. It's like, come back when you're done." Sadly, Anita lost her Earth mother, her adoptive father, and her birth mother in a short period. She described how she felt stuck in a cycle of loss and grief. Every time she would bury a family member, she would try to work through the pain, but then another heartbreaking loss would come. "Life decided for me," Anita explained. "Her health, her children, and her marriage came first. Those were her choices, and she had to face them." She said, "No sacrifice is too big for family, whether it's career, singing, or anything else." And she was willing to give it all up. As if that wasn't enough, Anita had to juggle her responsibilities as a mother while dealing with problems in her marriage. Her children needed more attention, and her marriage started to fall apart. In an honest chat with the Baltimore Sun, Anita shared that she filed for divorce. However, after going through therapy sessions together, she and her husband worked things out and reconciled. After taking a break from her career, Anita felt ready to focus on her music again. The desire to return to the stage and do what she loved was stronger than ever. She was excited to start the next chapter of her life, both personally and professionally. Anita made a big decision to hire a new manager who understood how important it was to balance her career with her family life. This manager knew that spending time with her children was just as important as her busy performance schedule. Thanks to this support, Anita could go back on tour, knowing her family was being taken care of at home. During this time, her husband played a big role in looking after their kids and even opened an IHOP restaurant in Detroit in 2004. After a long 10-year break from 2008 releasing albums, Anita made a huge comeback with the album My Everything in 2004. Fans were thrilled to hear new music from the talented singer. She followed this up with a Christmas album in 2005. But despite her return to music, Anita faced personal struggles. She and her husband Walter went through another separation and eventually decided to divorce. As part of their divorce settlement, Walter was given 50% of the royalties from two of Anita's biggest albums, Giving You the Best That I Got and Rhythm of Love. After the divorce, Walter disagreed with a $112,000 royalty payment he received from Anita. To resolve this, a court-appointed expert looked into the situation. The expert contacted record companies and carefully reviewed the details. In the end, they came up with a fair settlement that both Anita and Walter agreed on, so they could move forward without any more legal issues. Once the divorce was behind her, Anita could focus on what she loved most, making music. She recorded a version of Tyrese's hit song, Lately, which earned her a Grammy nomination. This proved once again how talented she was. This song was meant to be part of her album Only Forever, showing that Anita was back and stronger than ever in her music career.
Sing it with me, sweet love. Tell me good.
Recently, Anita asked her fans to stop buying or streaming her music while she fights to get back control of her old songs. She shared a message on Twitter saying she's outlived her music contracts. After owning her music for 30 years, she believes that by law, the record labels must return her music to her. Fans are on her side, and it's easy to see why. If the contracts she signed allow for it, she might be able to win. But there's a problem. Anita might not be able to use the law she's referring to, at least not for most of her songs. The problem for Anita is that most of her albums haven't been out long enough for this rule to work. 6 out of her 7 albums were released less than 35 years ago. But there's some good news. Her first album, The Songstress, came out 37 years ago, so she can already try to get the rights to it. Her second album, Rapture, will be released soon too. Even with this good news, there's a big challenge. Section 203 doesn't apply to music made under work-for-hire contracts. These types of contracts were common when Anita signed her deals in the 1980s. A work-for-hire contract means that the artist is treated like an employee of the label, and the label owns the music the moment it's made. Some labels have argued in court that they don't have to give back rights to music they've always owned. It's not clear if Anita Baker's contracts have this work-for-hire language. If they do, it might make it harder for her to win her fight. Baker might be ready for the fight, but it won't be easy. It's going to be a long battle, and she might face some tough obstacles along the way.
365 days of the year, I want your same old love.
Anita made a huge impact with her smooth voice and powerful songs. Even though her hit songs have been successful, fans are still waiting for her full album to be released. It's been a long wait, and many are wondering when they will finally get to hear the whole thing. Despite this, Anita has continued to create music that connects with her fans. In 2018, Anita made a big announcement. She said she would retire from touring and planned a farewell concert tour to say goodbye to her fans. It seemed like she was ready to step away from the spotlight. But in 2019, she surprised everyone by signing on for a Las Vegas residency. This was different from her usual touring. Instead of traveling all over, she decided to perform in one place and offer fans a more intimate concert experience. This residency allowed her to keep sharing her music while staying in one location. Anita's decision to keep performing, even after saying goodbye to touring, shows her love for music and her fans. It also shows her dedication to her craft. Even though she has faced personal struggles throughout her life, she never gave up on her passion for singing. In 2024, Anita is still going strong. With many platinum albums and 8 Grammy Awards, she has become an icon in the music industry. Her legacy is something to celebrate, not just because of her amazing talent, but also because of her strength to overcome obstacles.